That might be one of the best prints I've ever done. That is sick. I've been screen printing for 4 years now, and I've really busted my ass and practiced and worked really hard to get myself operating at a pretty high level in that relatively short amount of time. I've gotten my hands dirty with pretty much everything that this industry could throw at a printer, but one of the big staples that I've never done until this day is printed simulated process. Now, if you're not familiar with what simulated process printing is, a real basic way to explain it is that it's based off of 4-color process printing, the CMYK printing. Except instead of using CMYK, you're using a bunch of different colors to get the end result you want, which this ends up being far more versatile, far more color accurate, and just better all around, in my opinion. And the reason that I've never done this type of printing before, it isn't because of lack of skill or a lack of equipment. Clearly, it's because my shop is a little bit unique. The vast majority of shops out there, probably a lot of you watching right now, are printing artwork that is supplied to you by your clients. Whereas here in my shop, I would say that 90% of the artwork that gets printed here is also created by us. Dan and myself have spent a lot of time honing this style and making it signature to us, and it's become very desirable for a lot of people, which is really amazing to see. However, that style is based around chunky vector graphics, and that's what I end up printing every day, which is the furthest thing removed from simulated process, which is always based off of very complex raster style artwork. But we're shaking things up today. I've got a piece of artwork supplied by a client that just happens to be perfect for simulated process, so I'm finally gonna make this happen. If you follow me on Instagram and have ever watched any of my stories, you would know that I am a serious metalhead. I have been my entire life. So I was understandably pretty damn pumped when local death metal legends Immortal Possession hit me up to print the cover art for their latest album, The Resurrectionist. These guys have been going for damn near 30 years, which is absolutely amazing. I actually used to work with their bass player, John, back in my brief period as a cable guy. I could tell you some hilarious and crazy stories from those days, and I've also got some stories that can definitely never see the light of day. Anyways, this is gonna be a 4-color sim process with an underbase, so it's gonna be 5 screens. I don't know if you count it as a 5-color or 4-color, whatever. I printed out my films at 55 LPI, so we're gonna get really good detail, but at the same time, I should have a little bit of breathing room on exposure time for my screens. I'm hoping I've got some breathing room because this is actually the first time that I've exposed halftones in this new exposure unit with my new emulsions. So I've got a couple of extra screens as a backup, and I'm gonna throw an exposure calculator in here just to make sure. I think I'm looking pretty good. This is my underbase screen. It's on a 230 mesh. From what I can tell, it looks like I got most, if not all, of those halftones on the first try, so that's kind of awesome. The thing about halftones is you never really know if you did a good or a bad job on the exposure side until you start printing it, so this could go either way. But I'm feeling good about this so far. The rest of my top colors, they're all on 305 mesh, so I know I need to take my time down like a second or two. We should be good. For colors, I'm gonna be printing this with white, a light cyan blue, a dark, almost navy-ish blue, and black. 3 of these colors I'm gonna print wet on wet, which is actually gonna be the first time that I've printed wet on wet on the new auto. Shit, there's a lot of first times going on in this one, isn't there? We're gonna go white base, then flash, or in my case, the Stampinator. Then we're gonna print the light blue, the dark blue, and the black all wet. Then we're gonna flash it, then we're gonna come back and do the highlight white. For my 3 wet colors, actually just these 2, the light blue and the dark blue, I mixed in a little bit of Wilflex Viscosity Buster, like 2%, just to hopefully take down some of the stickiness and eliminate as much of that ink pickup as I can. Let's set this up, I'm excited. I gotta share this because I'm excited about it. Probably the coolest feature about this new press is being able to do full-blown test prints without leaving the control panel. On my old press, which was the Roq U, if you wanted to do a test print and check each color, making sure registration was on, you had to walk around the whole thing and manually trigger each print head one by one, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but after you've experienced this, it's bullshit. But on this press, with its chain drive system and of course this much crazier control panel, I can click these buttons and send these pallets wherever I want them to go around the press. Click another button, let it print, send it back over here to me, check the registration. it's amazing. I can fire off the flash from here, which is something I couldn't do on the old press. I had to actually walk over there and press the button, which sucked. I can trigger the Stampinator from here. Also amazing because the old press, all the print heads lifted up and down in unison, something I couldn't do. This one, they're all individual, so let's see if we can see this bad boy go. Look at that. Oh, it's so cool. The reason why this is so awesome is I can do all my test printing from this spot without moving. When I used to print wet on wet on a manual, I would actually flash all my colors on my first test print. That way, if I needed to make any sort of registration changes, if something was out, I didn't have to go back and clean and wipe the backsides of screens. That's just a big waste of time. I would flash everything until I got everything perfect, and then I would do my first wet on wet test print. So with this big beast, I can do basically the same thing without having to move unless I actually have to go and do any registration adjustments. I can print the underbase, stamp it, print the first color, send it to the flash, bring it back here to check it out, send it back to the second color, send it to the flash, bring it back here, and just repeat that process until I've got everything perfect. And it's super quick, super simple. I love it. All right, I only needed to make like 2 or 3 quick little registration tweaks. Gotta love having a pre-registration system, and let's take a second to appreciate that super tight registration I got going on here. These things are perfectly stacked. Gotta love having a pre-registration system. This is so much easier than my days on the manual press. This is like cheating. I also ran a couple scrap shirts around, printing it wet on wet to give myself some ink buildup on the back of those screens. Looks like we're golden. Let's tape off these marks and make this happen. Dude, I am shocked right now at how smoothly that went. I figured for my first time doing one of these, I would have had to change or fix something. I would have had to make a new screen, change out one of the ink colors that I chose, because maybe one of those didn't work. Maybe I would have made a colossal mistake somewhere along the lines, and really nothing happened. With the exception of stamping a palette, which seems to be very consistent for me still on this thing. Other than that, everything else I shot here today went smooth as silk. Like, we're not even gonna have a blooper reel today. It's really, really weird not to make any mistakes. I think that means either I just got lucky today or I need to push myself harder. We'll go with the second one. But these shirts turned out super sick. They look and feel incredible. The color consistency is identical from the first shirt to the last, so that feels really good because I was kind of wondering how that was gonna work out on this new press. The registration stayed locked in, did not budge throughout the entire run, so that feels really good considering how things went on the previous machine. The prints are incredibly smooth and really light feeling, so combination between the Stampinator and my screen setup, everything I did there, just the chef's kiss. I do see room for improvement though. I think if I switch over to a dual cure emulsion, or if I just add diazo into the emulsion that I'm using now, I can probably bump up those halftones quite a bit to like 65 LPI. I think that's probably the ceiling while still using films, but that would give me sharper detail, smoother color blends, and overall just be at a higher level, and that's the level that I want to be operating at. But for a first try, that shit ain't bad. I am really, really happy with the end result. That shirt looks and feels incredible. I'm stoked at how smooth this whole process went for some reason. And I know that those guys are gonna be happy because I already sent them a picture of one of them and they were fucking pumped. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters with this job. Please click the like button down below for me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ding the bell also so that you know when I upload new videos because I'm gonna be coming in hot with all kinds of new stuff. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again in the next one.